Hey guys, it's Jade from Bedtime Bookworm. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about the last two books that I read in the month of April. The first book that I'm going to talk about is The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the second book in the Raven Cycle. If you haven't heard of the Raven Cycle series yet, I don't know where you've been because the last book in the series, The Raven King, just came out and everyone has been talking about this series. Even before that last book came out, everyone was talking about this series. It's definitely a favorite for a lot of people. I was late to the bandwagon and I only read the first book in the series, The Raven Boys, at the very beginning of this year. I really enjoyed that first book, so I was excited to pick up the next one. This was a buddy read with my friend Amber from Du Livre. I don't know how to say her blog name. I'm pretty sure it's French and I've never taken French, so sorry for butchering your blog name, Amber. I really love Amber's blog. I'll definitely link it down below and also try to put it up in the card symbol. She does great reviews and has a great sense of humor, and I love reading her blog. I won't say too much about the plot of this book because obviously if you haven't read the first one, I wouldn't want to ruin it, but basically the series as a whole is about Blue and these three boys, which are often referred to as the Raven Boys. And I would consider it a paranormal, or maybe some people would consider it like an urban fantasy. Basically, Blue is a girl in a family of psychics, but she's not psychic herself. Blue and her boys go on an adventure to try and find this lost king. And the story involves ley lines, which I have always found really interesting. I've read about ley lines in other books before that I've really enjoyed. So far, both of these books have been very character-centered. I wouldn't consider this a very fast-paced or like gripping or exciting series. It's more character-driven, and in that sense kind of reads like a contemporary, but with like the paranormal twist to it. The second book in the series is definitely focused on Ronan, one of the Raven Boys, and he's not my favorite Raven Boy. I know a lot of people out there who love Ronan, so I'm definitely an unpopular opinion on that one. And so if you already love Ronan, you're gonna love him even more after this book. I really enjoyed learning more about Ronan and his history, and some of the big picture things are starting to tie together a little bit, even though I know I have two more books to go, so there's still a lot more tying together to be done. I probably haven't done a very good job of summarizing this book, but basically I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next one and finishing the series because everyone says it's so amazing. They're not like fast-paced, gripping, exciting books, but that didn't take away from my enjoyment of it. I enjoy these characters so much. They're all very unique. I really enjoy the way this book portrays friendships, both between two boys and between boys and girls, because Blue is obviously friends with all three of these guys. There might be some romantic feelings involved with some of them, but there's definitely platonic friendship in this book as well, and that's something that I really love reading about because we don't see a lot of that in YA. YA all about romance. I have a ship, but I'm not going to tell you what it is because it could be a spoiler for people who haven't read this book. So if you want to talk about ships, you should direct message me on Twitter and we can talk about it. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. I'm looking forward to the next book in the series. Hopefully I'll pick it up in the next month or so. I gave The Raven Boys 4.5 out of 5 stars. The last book that I read in the month of April was The Skylighter by Becky Wallace. This is the sequel to The Storyspinner, which is a YA fantasy. It was Becky Wallace's debut novel. I read it a year ago and I really loved it. I loved the world building, I loved the characters, I loved the story. I thought it was a really strong start to a series, which is actually a duology. When I heard that the arc of the sequel, The Skylighter, was available on NetGalley, I went and requested it right away because I was super excited to read it. So thanks to the publishers for giving me this e-arc for free. And even though I got this book for free, of course, it does not affect my review. I was really looking forward to reading the sequel because I enjoyed the first book so much. My friend Amber had mentioned to me that if I didn't remember the end of The Storyspinner, I might have a hard time getting into the book. And I brushed it off because I was like, oh, I remember what happened in that book. But I was so wrong because when I picked up The Skylighter, I realized how much I didn't remember. The Skylighter picks up right at the end of The Storyspinner. What I did was I went back and reread the last few chapters of The Storyspinner, hoping it would help me remember enough that I could get into The Skylighter a little easier. And while that did help a little bit, I found that The Skylighter really relies on the reader remembering a lot of the details from The Storyspinner, and so I spent probably a good 3/4 of the book still fairly confused or just trying to like figure out what was going on. And you know, that's partially my fault for not remembering everything that happened in the Storyspinner, but at the same time, I don't feel like a reader should have to remember as many details about the first book in a series as what I felt like needed to be remembered to enjoy the Skylighter. While I felt that the Storyspinner was a really strong debut and first book in the duology, I was a little let down by the Skylighter. It didn't live up to my expectations. It wasn't quite as good as the Skylighter to me. I thought that the world building was a little shakier in this book, and there were things that happened that I didn't really understand, or I didn't feel like it was quite explained as well as it could have been. I didn't connect with the characters as well as I did in the first book. I didn't really love the romance that was going on, even though I really enjoyed the build up to it that happened in the first book. I think a lot of the problems I had with the book could be explained away by the fact that I just couldn't remember a lot of what happened in the first book. I felt like the Skylighter was a direct continuation of the Storyspinner, and while that makes sense because it is a sequel, I also feel like sequels should be able to stand on their own a little bit more than I felt like this one was. So overall, I thought that the Skylighter was a weak conclusion to this duology. I think that I would have enjoyed it more if I had read them back to back. So if you're interested in reading this, I definitely recommend reading them close together so you're able to enjoy the Skylighter more than maybe I was. I gave the Skylighter 3.5 out of 5 stars. So that's what I read in the second half of April. If you've read either of these books before, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. That's all I have for now. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, bookworms, keep reading. Bye! Dream Thieves. I gave the Raven Boys. Oh, what did I give it? The next book that I read in April, the last book that I finished in April, so I'll put a picture of it here so you'll see. And want to share your thoughts, leave your comments down below. If you've read either of these books and want to share your thoughts, please leave some comments down below. If you've read either of these books, leave some comments down below and we'll chat about it. I don't like that either. You want to say hi to the camera? Want to say hi to the camera? Hi, camera. Bye.